blog. Blog is really cool, okay? And as we said in the lunch break today, I think more people use blog not as a blog than they actually use it as a blog, right? Did Dr. Seuss say that? That came out weird. Okay. But, you know, blog is very powerful, okay? It allows you to add new things to your site with, you know, essentially new pages, right, to your site without being in RapidWeaver at all, right? Because you could have a list of items, click on them, and it brings up a blog post page, and all the data that's on that page is, you know, for that blog post, okay? Or insert whatever you're using blog for, right? Okay, so blog in itself, I think, is a pretty simple concept. What's complex about blog is like all the intricate settings that we have for filtering and getting the data, and what's your use case for, right? So, and essentially, blog on the admin side, you have blog list. Now, you also have a blog form page. Now, I recommend that you have the blog form page be a separate page from your normal admin page, okay? Definitely recommend that you have it separate from your admin page, okay? It needs to be separate, right? It could work, but it's different, right? I recommend it's just simpler, have it separate, okay? Then on the content side, you have your page with your blog list. Sometimes that could be your homepage, right? If you want to list out all your blog posts as a homepage, okay? Now, just for simplicity's sake, at least for this first little section, I'm going to pretend like we're using blog like a blog, okay? Then afterwards, we could talk about what other people are using it for. Hopefully, a lot of us can stay for the after party, and you guys can all share what you're using blog for. I know I've seen some really, really cool stuff with blog, like people using blogs for like badass galleries and, you know, product pages and, you know, determining company services and all that kind of stuff, right? Some really cool stuff. But right now, let's start off by teaching blog as it was intended to be, a blog. Okay, bear with me. So getting back to the content side, on the home page, okay, we will have a blog list, okay, the way of listing all of our blog posts. You can also have things like blog filters. So, you know, the ability to have, you know, like traditionally, you know, you have on the side, like, you know, here's all my tags, here's all my categories, you know, here's all my blog posts from January 2011 or whatever it is, right? Okay. So you can have all of those, you know, filters in a sidebar. You know, traditionally you have them in a sidebar. You can have search, right? Things of that nature, right? And then once that determines the blog list, right? So how, you know, people see multiple blog posts, and then they click on it. And then when they click on that, like a title or the image or something of that nature, right? It takes them through to another post or to another page on your site that contains all of the details for that blog post, right? So as we see now, I talked about admin and content. Both sides have two pages associated to them. Okay, you both have the list page and the blog post page on both sides, right? The blog post page on the admin side is the form, right? The blog post page on the content side is the actual blog post contents, right? So, okay, without further ado, I see you have a question. Oh, the checksum. Yeah, I think I answered that. Okay, cool. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start creating some blog posts. Okay, so to help speed things up, I'm actually going to use some default blog data that I already have set up. Okay, and actually this blog data is totally, you know, you could download it. I have it available on my doc portal. It's just, you know, the sample CMS data, and it has CMS data for not only blog but a bunch of other stuff. Okay, not sure I mentioned that today, but yeah, it's there. It's a download link on my doc portal, on the CMS doc portal. You can download that sample data. Okay. So in fact, here, let's share that screen. In fact, let's go ahead and download it straight from the horse's mouth here. So we can, I think, actually, I'm pretty sure there's a link for it on Weaverspace. So if we go to Weaverspace CMS, I think, is it the demo project? No, fail. Okay, doc portal. So if we go to the doc portal, there it is. It is on the doc portal. I was right the first time. Sample CMS data right there. Boom. Let's download that. Score. Okay. So we're gonna, as soon as that's done downloading, boom. CMS data. Open that there. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to upload blog and upload gallery blog. Okay, boom. So just for simplicity of you know, obviously me not wanting to create tons of blog posts, I just uploaded some sample data directly here into the CMS. Okay. So now that when we go ahead and create our blog here, it will all be good. So what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and let's just continue adding onto this page. Like I said earlier, I'm not creating a beautiful site here at all. I'm just trying to teach you guys blog. So we go to the blog list stack. Okay, so on the CMS admin, we're going to start here. We're going to say blog list. Okay, so that is the blog list. Okay, and the CMS ID is actually going to be blog. That's the one I uploaded. Okay, now, like I said earlier, we need to create, we actually need to add a new page. I'm going to add it under admin. I'm going to say /admin/blog. Okay. And on here, I need my admin core stack. We are using Foundation, so I'm just going to throw in site styles. Okay, boom. Oh, I need. Hopefully, instead of doing this copy paste like I'm doing, ultimately you should be using partials, right? So all this data is the same across all your pages. Yeah. Okay. So we're good there. We have admin core there. Let's go like this. And I'm going to do just add some padding to the top and bottom. Just for kicks, let's go ahead and just so it has something up there. Just say or just say blog post. Okay, now I created this little dummy page. We need to go ahead and add a blog form stack to the page. Okay. Now the blog form stack, we need to make sure we set the CMS ID to be blog because that's what our CMS ID is. Okay. Inside the blog form stack, there aren't many settings, right? There are a couple interesting ones. So what you can do is after a new blog post is submitted, you can either do nothing, redirect to a specific page, or redirect to the previous page. So basically, you could probably go back to the main admin page, okay? On an edit, you can do something different, right? So if you edit a blog post, you could then go back to the blog post page. So you can have different actions after you save a blog form, okay, to you know, what you want to do. The blog also has RSS feeds. This is where you can set the RSS title and the RSS description inside that RSS feed, okay, for the blog post. Now, the blog form stack has tons, not tons, it has a bunch of different fields that you can add to a form, okay? And it's all the fields that are available in the blog, right? So you have author, categories, content, date, draft, extra content, featured, you know, so on and so forth. Now, what some people might not realize is you can actually use other stacks in here to lay out your blog. So probably what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add in a 2-column, and then I'm going to probably make it 8 and 9 and 3. Let's do 9 and 3. Okay. We'll do 8 and 4. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start adding and creating this blog form a little bit. The permalink, that is the field that is like this URL slug, okay, for a blog. We want to have author, and we definitely want to have categories, and we want to have content, like the main content, right? We want to have a date field. Definitely want to have a gallery, okay? We'll just add all there. We want to draft. Oh, do we already add a date? Date, draft, extra content. I'm not going to add extra content. Featured, we'll do that. Gallery, I have blog summary. We need that. We need tags. Of course, we need a title. Okay. Blog button and ReCAPTCHA. I'm not going to add ReCAPTCHA. So a couple fields I'm not going to add here. Okay, extra content and ReCAPTCHA. What are those? So extra content is, so as I told you, a lot of people were asking for more fields in content in the blog, right? Because they wanted to do things with blog that weren't really meant for a blog, okay? So my compromise was I will give you an extra content area, which is just another text field that you can use for whatever you want, okay? You know, you already have, you know, extra content, you already have summary and content. This is just another content area that you can use for your purposes, okay? ReCAPTCHA, that is just a generic kind of ReCAPTCHA that you can have in a form. Now, most of the time, you're not going to have ReCAPTCHA in your admin area. I'll be honest, I added this a little selfishly for myself because if you didn't know, let me just give you a quick little tidbit of information. If you go to Weaverspace and you go to the design gallery, okay, go to designs. Okay, if you didn't know, you can peruse tons of amazing websites that were built with RapidWeaver, and a lot of them with, you know, Foundation and MyStacks and, you know, a bunch of others, right? There's a bunch of really amazing websites here. This entire thing is managed with Total CMS. And if you go to submit your designs, okay, this form is a blog form. It's Total CMS blog, okay? Now it's public facing, okay, because anybody can submit a design. It's not password protected. So in order for to reduce on spam, I wanted to have the blog form support ReCAPTCHA. I did it purely so that I could build this and use Total CMS for this project. Again, it was purely, I'm sure maybe some people will use it, but if you ever need to have a blog form and have it publicly facing, okay, you might want to use ReCAPTCHA. It's why it's there. Because this is a use case of me using TotalBlog, not as a blog, okay? But it's pretty darn cool. So anyway, so back to gallery, click back to gallery. There's a lot of really great stuff here. You see here, this is a perfect example of blog where I can filter by designer, which is the author field, right? I can sort by themes. You see there aren't many, most of them are Foundation. Okay, I can search by stacks and plugins, right? So this is just a great use case of blog. Anyway, okay. So that was kind of a little oh shoot. I did all of that and I wasn't sharing my screen. Ha! Okay, really quick. Oh my goodness. Oh boy. Okay. I did all that and I wasn't sharing my screen. Oh boy. That's just great. Okay, really quick. Okay, I won't go through the whole spiel again, but if you go to designs, and this entire gallery is powered by Total Blog. Okay, if you go to submit your designs, this form is Total CMS blog form, and it has a ReCAPTCHA. This is the entire reason I added ReCAPTCHA, was for this, because I wanted to have a public-facing form. And obviously with public-facing forms, you want to have some sort of robot control so that I don't get spam. And so I added the ReCAPTCHA. So that is why I did that. Sorry about that. You guys were probably like, what the heck's he talking about? I don't see a thing. Okay. So I've added all the fields in here. Let's just go ahead and start organizing them a little bit. So I want to make sure I have date. Let's see, content is going to be over there. Author is going to be under date. Categories under author. Blog under content. Actually, no, I'm going to have blog over there. Let's see, I'm going to have draft. Actually, I'm going to have there. I'm going to have that. Summary is going to be above content. Tags over there. Actually, here, let's do, it's getting full over there. Let's do author. Title at the top. And then save button, I'll just leave at the bottom. Okay, so that's kind of a, let's just preview that real quick, see how that looks. That's kind of a nice, decent. One thing we want to make sure, let's see these draft and featured. That's draft. So let's go ahead and let's just do header here. Draft. I want to make sure that it's not H3. Probably want like a H5. H5. Featured. Boom. Okay. Preview that. Boom. It looks okay. Probably want to center it, but maybe it doesn't matter. Okay. So this is a pretty decent blog form. Oh, one thing we want to make sure, did I set the CMS ID? I did. CMS ID is set to blog. So we're good. Okay. So what I've done here, now we can go to each of these, but there's really not many settings in here. Okay. Placeholder, you can have title, you can set fields to required. Okay. Permalink. Permalink is the only field that has to be in the blog form. You can create blogs without authors. You can create blog posts without categories, without tags. Every single blog post has to have a permalink. Okay? Now, if you want to have a permalink, but you don't want the user to be able to set it, like maybe your blog post doesn't have a title, that's okay. By default, the permalink is going to be based off the title, okay? But what you can do is you can set this to append timestamp, and then you can even hide it if you want. And what that will do is that will ensure that it will create a unique permalink for every single blog post. Okay? So again, permalink is really the only blog field that is required. You have to have it there. Okay, very important. Next is blog author. Okay, blog author. What's unique about blog author is it kind of queries the other authors that are already in the system, and you can pre-fill that. So like here, let's just do an example. I can do Joe Workman. Oops, what happened? Oh, you have to do all option return. I forget about that. Option return, and then do Rob Zeeble. And we can do John Hawkins. And we can do Tron Sutton. Okay, so that's good. You can turn on autocomplete. You can make it required, and you can also hide it. Okay. Now, if you set hidden static value, you'll see a bunch of these options have hidden static value options. Okay. So what that means is if you set this to be, say, Joe Workman, this is you can't fill out author. It's going to automatically submit it as Joe Workman. Okay. This instance, I don't want that. I want us to give an option. Okay. In summary, you can use HipWig editor or the text editor. Okay. Now the summary you can also create from content. And this is pretty interesting. What this allows you to do is you can give the first number of characters that it will then pull from the content. So in this example, it'll take the first 250 characters from the content and create a summary from that. So if you don't want to type a separate summary from content, you can use this feature, create from content. Okay. Content field, basically, same thing. You can have HipWig or a text editor. Dates, you can provide a format, which you want. You can either have normal format or, European format. That was a joke, if you got it. Categories, same thing as author. You can pre-fill categories. Okay. Same thing with tags. You can pre-fill tags. This toggle sets a blog post as draft or not draft. Featured sets it as featured or not featured. Okay. And then obviously the gallery. And you have all the options that we've seen in the past from images and galleries here. Okay. In terms of, alt tags, resizing, creating thumbnails, positioning, cropping, all that stuff. It's all right here. Same thing as we've seen earlier in images and galleries. Someone asked if you select append timestamp, does that hide it from the client side or chuck it in visibility? So there is a hide field option in Permalink. So you can append timestamp and then you can say hide field and that will hide it from the view. So you don't need to use any sort of visibility. There's the hide field checkbox there. Okay. Awesome. Can we add any stack or do they have to be CMS? Okay, good question. So you can add any sort of layout-based stack inside blog form. Okay. Now, the number one sin that I've seen many people do, okay, is they do stuff like this. I've set up a blog form, but this is what people do. They go, oh, you know what? I want a file inside my blog, so I'm going to do that. And oh yeah, I want video, so I'm going to add that too. You cannot do that. Cannot do it. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. Won't work. It will bomb. And you're going to be like, what the heck? And then I'm going to spend an hour thinking, what the heck did this guy do? Why is it not working? And then I will realize it. You cannot do that. It does not work. So you are restricted. You can add any kind of layout-based stack, okay? But you cannot add other CMS items into blog form. You can only add the blog form stacks that are, that are within this, okay? So for CMS fields, this is all you get. You can't, think you can add a video to your blog post by adding a video CMS element. Doesn't work like that, okay? So good question. Thank you for answering that because I get a lot of people who try to do that. Okay. So our blog form is pretty much done. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the admin side and look at the blog list because I added it to the page, but I didn't really do anything yet. Okay. Our blog form side is done. Like it's done. We don't need to do anything else to it. We'll play around with it in a little bit. So blog list. Here I have my CMS ID. Here you can set your date format. Okay. I start off with the funky format for all you guys. This is the normal format for me. Month, day, year. But you can also, one thing we need to set in the blog stack, okay, is the page that is the form page. Okay, so the page that we just created, we need to tell blog list where that's at. So when someone clicks on this, it actually edits it, right? So we need to do that. So we go here and we go, and blog form, click set link. Okay, we're done. We've now linked the blog list to the blog form. Okay, that's it. That's all we had to do. Now, we also have a search box in blog list here so you can quickly find and filter these things if you want to search for a particular blog list, or if you want to search for a particular blog post, I'm sorry. So you can show or hide that, okay? And if you show it, you can, customize the, localize all the various options in that select box to be, what you want in your language, okay? Or to be honest, what you're using for blog for, right? If you're not using blog for a blog, maybe you're not using author field as an author, you're using it for something else, right? So you can change that here. The next thing is filtering posts. So we're going to be going over filtering posts in the content side. This has the same exact options as filtering posts on the content side. You can show newest first, oldest first, sort alphabetically, reverse alphabetically. With date-wise, you can show only future posts, only past posts, all posts, right? Featured, do you want only featured, hide featured, so on and so forth, okay? I'll go over this filtering more in depth on the content side, okay? But just know that you have the same exact control here on the admin side, okay? By default, you pretty much show all blog posts, sort newest at the top, which is what most blog implementations are going to want, okay? So with that, let's go ahead and preview. So now remember, I've already pre-populated my blog. So I have a bunch of blog posts here inside blog list. As you see, I can filter. So if I want to search for coffee, right, I can do that. Okay. It shows you the total number of posts here. You can search by particular field, so on and so forth. Okay. If you hover over a blog post, also, let's look at the attributes of each individual thing here. If you hover over this, we have another action bar, okay? This first button allows you to quickly set that blog post as a draft without actually ever going into that blog post. Here, I can toggle the featured, of that. So I can make this blog post featured, toggle that on or off, without actually going into the blog post. These are just convenience little things to toggling, blog posts very quickly. This link here opens up a link. Now, we haven't set up the blog post URL yet. We'll get to that in a little bit, okay? But this is where the RSS feed and the sitemap for our blog will be. Okay, so important point here, okay? The RSS feed is the RSS feed, right? You can throw that, give that RSS feed to whomever, and they can throw it in their RSS feeds or their favorite app and process it, and you'll get new blog posts, in the feed whenever something is new is submitted. Okay, done. Now, sitemaps. That's important because RapidWeaver does generate sitemap.xml files for all of our web pages. Okay, but RapidWeaver has no clue when you actually create a new blog post. Okay, so what blog does is it generates an additional sitemap file for you for your blog. And whenever you create or edit a blog post, it will generate a new sitemap.xml file for you automatically. What does that mean for you? That means that you need to submit this sitemap.xml to Google separately from your traditional sitemap. So Google does allow you to have multiple sitemap files, okay, for your website. So essentially, where you're gonna have your main sitemap file that RapidWeaver generates, or if you're using Sitemap Plus from your head, you're gonna submit that generic sitemap.xml for your entire website. Okay. Then you're gonna get the URL from blog list, like we just saw here. Submit that sitemap to Google as well. Now, when you submit it, Google's gonna keep watching that XML file for changes over time. So you only have to do this a one-time thing, right? Now if you have multiple blogs, you're gonna have to submit, sitemaps for each blog, right? So, but this is a very great feature of Total CMS because we want to make sure that our blog posts are indexed properly from Google, right? So very important. So sitemap.xml is generated for every single blog post. Very cool, awesome feature. Okay. Also with this, you'll notice that there's little carrots here. You can click on that and then it'll take you to that page. Okay. When we set up the content side, right now the admin side doesn't know where the content blog post is. So that's why this is blank. It doesn't know. Okay. But because we haven't set any of that information up yet. So then you can also, so we've done draft, featured, links, and then you can delete a blog post, obviously. Okay. Here you can see that's the title. Next to it is the author. Okay. And then over here we have in the blue is the categories assigned to that blog post. And next to that is the tags. And obviously we have the date of the blog post. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and set this one to draft. What you'll see here is if something is featured, it has a star. If something is draft, it has this little symbol here. And as you saw how easy that was, I just toggle that on and off. And now this blog post is no longer a draft. Okay. Now to edit a blog post, if I wanted to go ahead and edit that, I would just click on it and it should take me to our page. Now what's cool is I haven't published this. This is actually all live, all within RapidWeaver. And here we are. Actually, it's inside Safari, but it's all local, right? So here I can go ahead and I can change the title. I can change whatever I want here, and I can save the blog post. I can add new images. I can toggle the draft feature here, okay, or turn that off. One thing I didn't notice, or I didn't note, okay, is for interacting with these. So the date has a nice little date picker, okay. For tags, if you have it's a comma delimited list. If you have a comma, you can actually select from existing tags or categories. Okay. So if I, do comma, I can see all the list of existing ones, or I can type my new one, new one. Okay. Same thing happens with authors, right? So here I have Joe Workman, John Hawkins, Robert Zeeble, right? So boom, there we go. I can select that. Now, one thing I didn't note here is how do we create a new blog post, right? So I've gone ahead and we've, on the blog list, if I click on a blog post, I can edit one, but how do we create a new one? Really simple. Basically, you're just gonna have to add a button to the page. I wanted to make this kind of let you decide how you wanted to do it. Maybe you have a better idea or a different idea on how you would like to have certain things sorted, right? But for what I recommend is you just add a button. You can use any button you want, right? Here, I'm just gonna use my foundation button really quick. And I'm gonna set it to, I think it looks good, right aligned. And I'm gonna say a new blog post. And I'm gonna link to the blog post page, blog form page. Set link, okay? Let's go ahead and just publish this for right now. Okay, I think that finished, right? Let's go look at that on online. So here I have, I'm on that, on my admin blog page, right? Or admin page with all the admin stuff. I have blog at the very top here, so it's a little convenient. Again, I can go here and I can click on a blog post. We can edit that blog post, okay? I can go back and we can, edit whatever we want, okay? Now, if I want to create a new blog post, I'm going to go ahead and say new blog post. Now, how does all this work, right? How does it know? Like, how does it do that? So if you're curious, if you notice when I went to a new blog post, if you look at the URL, it went to just the plain URL of sandbox.joburg.net/admin/blog. So it went straight to that blog form page, with no data. Okay. But if I go ahead and select an existing blog post, what you'll notice is it passes in the URL, it passes the permalink to the URL. So then the CMS is smart enough to say, hey, yo, I see that he's actually asking me to populate my form with an existing blog post. So I'm going to go and query the CMS and bring all that data down and populate the form with it. Okay. So that's why when you create a new blog post, all you need to do is link to the form and you're done. Okay. So how does all this work creating a new blog post? So I type in a title. Okay. Now by default, when I exit this field, okay, so I tab out of it or whatever, okay, what it does is I must have left on that timestamp of append timestamp. So that's interesting that you got to see this. What it will do is it will create a permalink, okay, that's based off the title. Okay. In this instance, I had that setting check. I forgot to uncheck it. That also appended a timestamp. What's interesting about that is, in the future, what I wanted to show you is that you can't create a blog post that has the same exact permalink unless you have this option, right? So let me go ahead and turn that off because I wanted to show that to you. Permalink, append timestamp. Okay, so getting back to that, you're going to want to make sure that if you do want to make sure that users can have the same title for multiple blog posts, you're going to want to make sure you append a timestamp to the permalink, because if you don't, hopefully this is, there we go. Okay, so now I have new blog post. I'm just going to go ahead and let's just type in some information here. I'm going to save this blog post. Today, categories, dream. If you're wondering, on a blank field, if you just double click it, it'll bring up this little doodad, so you can just quickly select from an existing one. It's a cool little feature. And then we just drag in some placeholder images. Okay, and then I save my blog form. Okay, so that's done. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create another new blog post, and I'm going to say new. This is going to be the same exact title, blog post. Okay, boom. So if you notice here, this has a red X on it. Okay, what that symbolizes is this permalink already exists. Now, while it doesn't look like it, you can actually edit the permalink. So if I wanted, I could just do like a 2 here. And it notices that there isn't, if I go here and edit that again, it's going to say, sorry, you can't have that permalink. So you can edit the permalink, okay, so that it is valid. So there is a, kind of a built-in checker into the blog post form to make sure that the permalink is always unique, okay? That's why if your client really doesn't care about the permalink, like, that on the end of the URL, and you want to make sure that they can have multiple titles, you can append a timestamp. It doesn't look as pretty, I'll admit, right? Having no, timestamp at the end of your permalink is a benefit, right? It looks nicer. But if it's the only solution that you have, then you might need to do it. I'm kind of done on the admin side. Before I jump onto the content side, do you have any questions really quick before I jump onto the content side of blog? No, I don't see any questions. So I think we're good to go. Okay. What I'm going to do is instead of adding to this page, I'm going to create a new blog page. Okay, just for kicks. Okay, and just for fun, I'm going to /blog. Okay, and like I said before, we do need to have a separate blog post page. Okay, so what I'm going to do also is I'm going to go here. I'm going to say blog post. Okay, I'm going to make it a child of the blog. I'm going to make it /blog /post. Okay. Let's just go ahead and hold on. I'm gonna do the lazy route. I'm just gonna do this. Not really lazy, but we're gonna go ahead and do the proper way. We're gonna partial this bad boy. Okay, go here, partial, boom. Thank you. Should have done that a long time ago. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let's go ahead, and this is going to be this particular page is going to be our main blog post page. Okay, just for fun, let's give it I don't know, some sort of image. Let's go ahead, and we saved an image before. Oh, I know what we do. For fun, let's do this. Impact. Boom. We'll make this page a little prettier than what we've done the previous pages. And of course, since we're doing CMS, we're going to make it all CMS controllable. So impact, and why the hell not? Let's go all the way. Let's have it control a blog list. We're going to display the first image from a blog post, original size, mobile image, as thumbnail, it's fine. Or we want a link, yes. We want to include the post summary, and only past posts, featured image before all posts, yes. Okay, let's just do that. Let's see if this works really quick. So what this is doing now is impact should connect. Oh, my CMS ID. Haha. It's not Total CMS. It is blog. Okay. Preview. This should bring in and create a impact slideshow. Actually, I don't want it full screen. Actually, let's just make it proportional and 21:9. Okay, so this is a blog page or impact that's importing the first image from each blog post, and it's putting it up at the top of the page. Okay, really, 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 really cool. How come? Let's see. We want to link to the blog post page. Include post summary. Oh, content. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Okay. Then we got the whole thing. The content's black. It would be nice if it was white, whatever. Oh, foreground content, style, alternate style. Container, background. Oh, there we go. Now we're getting better. Boom. Okay. I'm happy with that. Let's just leave it like that. I think that's pretty cool, right? So now we have images in the background. We have the title from the blog post, the summary from the blog post, right? If you click on it, it's going to take us to the blog post page, right? I mean, that's really, really cool. Okay. So we're making something a little bit fancier now. Awesome. Then below that, let's go ahead and let's do one column. We're going to do 5, and then we want header. We'll just be boring. We'll just say my blog. Okay. And then now we're going to add the blog list. Oh, actually, what I want is, I totally forgot. I actually want 2 columns. Okay. And then I want my header over here. I want this column split to be 9 and 3. Okay. So basically what my plan is, over here on the left column, I'm going to have my blog list. On the right-hand column, I'm going to have things like search and filters and things of that nature. Okay. So now let's start adding Total CMS stacks. So we're going to add a blog list. Okay. Blog list. So the blog, when you do a blog list, essentially what we're doing is you're going to be building a template of what one blog post looks like. Okay. So you're going to be building an example of what one blog post looks like in your entire list. Okay. So then once you build that template, it's going to be applied to every single blog post. Okay. So just to let you know, we're not actually building like the entire, all of it. We're building an example of what one looks like in edit mode, and then we'll see what it looks like once we preview it. Okay. Someone asked, let's really quick. I was told by another web developer that many sites now link to an external Tumblr blog. The advantage quoted that the blog is also picked up by a wider audience. What are your thoughts on this? Okay, so sites like Tumblr and Medium are social networks. Okay, you don't control the content there at all, right? You're on rented space. I think that is not intelligent. Tumblr at any one point in time, which I think it's now owned by Yahoo, which is now owned by Verizon. I could be wrong on that, right? It could be shut down tomorrow. And what happens if your blog's been on there for 2 or 3 years? What are you going to do then, right? I think having your blog on your website is the much more intelligent thing. Then you can post about your blog post on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, whatever, right? I think owning your blog is highly important. I actually think Tumblr is like kind of dead. I don't think hardly anyone actually actively goes to Tumblr. Medium, yes. I know a lot of people that blog on Medium. And what a lot of them do is actually they blog on their site and then they copy the post onto Medium, right? So that then they kind of get both, because they understand that even Medium is rented ground. You don't have control over the content, right? They can add ads on your page and you'll be like, what the hell, Medium, right? So, hey, it's totally up to you, but I think having your site locally on your site is so much better for you and your brand, okay? And then getting discovered, yes, you need to get discovered. That's marketing 101, and social media is part of that, right? I think you'll get more traction, promoting your stuff, either, in niche communities or Twitter, Facebook, things of that nature. I don't really use Medium. The way I get Medium, funny enough, like I said, is through links on Twitter, right? I don't join Medium. I'm not a part of it. And I don't really know how it works in discovering new blogs. Okay. I knew how Tumblr worked. You could follow people, right? But isn't that why we have RSS feeds? I don't know. Not too impressed with those. I think I would much rather have my blog on my site. I own it. It is mine, right? No one can do anything about it. And then I get all the SEO traffic. If someone searches for a blog post, they don't go to my, like if you post an amazing blog post that goes viral, right? Google's going to send all that traffic to Medium, not to you, right? So you want the traffic to go to your website, not Medium. So another point for having your own blog on your own site. So I answered that one. Okay. Okay, what was I doing? I was sharing your screen. Okay, so blog list. We're gonna build out a quick blog list. So what we do here is I'm gonna go ahead and add. You can add various things. First thing you can add is a layout stack. Okay, a layout stack is like you can allows you to build 1-2 column layouts with blog. Okay, so let's say I wanted to have, let's do a traditional layout of, I want to have an image. Okay, and then underneath the image, I'm gonna have a layout so that I have a little bit of padding around it. Okay, and then I want to add maybe some color. Okay. Okay. Maybe not. Then I'm going to add the title. Okay. If you notice, all of these are basically fields that you've added into the CMS, right? For each blog post. So you can add the author, you can add a date, you can add an image, the summary. You cannot add content. You cannot add extra content. Those are only available on the actual detailed blog post page. Okay. If you have my comments stack, you will have a discuss count and Facebook count. If we have some time, I can go into that. I have videos on how to integrate those into the blog as well. So if you want to integrate comments and then have the comment count inside the blog list, you can do that. Okay. You can also insert your own HTML into this as well if you want to get crazy. Okay, but we're going to keep it simple. Let's just do title and summary. Let's add summary into there, and then probably a read more button. Right. Keep it simple. Now the read more button has a bunch of options. For ghost buttons. If you want to have small, large, if you want to have it full width button, you can do that, right? Let's do that. Let's have full width button. And just for fun, let's have we need to set the CMS ID. So in the blog list, we need to set CMS ID, which in our case is blog. Okay. And let's preview that. Okay. So here we go. We have our CMS ID, and it's currently set up to be list format. Okay. Which if we look at, we go down the page, we'll have blog layout list. Okay. We can have list and cards. List basically means you have one blog post per line per se. So for a list format, we might want to actually do something a little bit different. We might want to have this layout to be a 2-column, right? And then we have this and that. Okay. And then our thing is there. And then we have our read more button under there. And you probably don't want the read more button to be full width. We want it left. Let's just see how that looks. Okay, there we go. So that's something that's probably a little bit more traditional. Okay. Where you have, maybe we even shrink that down a little bit. So it's probably not 50-50. Desktop, let's do like 30. There we go, right? So we have, the image, and then, the text on the left. It's kind of a traditional kind of a list, format. Maybe you have the blog, the title, probably actually maybe the title would make sense if we just, did it up there. So you see there, now we have, actually probably this heading is stupid now. It doesn't make sense because we have titles on every single blog post, right? So you see here, we have, the image and whatnot. There's a lot of other settings, but this is kind of a default, kind of list option. My favorite layout is actually cards. Okay. So I'm going to kind of go back to the layout we were at before. like this. I'm going to set this layout to be one column. Okay. And then all I'm going to do is in blog list, I'm going to set the layout to be cards. Okay. And do that. We will see now I have, now some of these, like this summary is huge on this blog post. But as you see, now we have a kind of a nice thing where we kind of have these cards. Okay. Now we can add some backgrounds to our cards, right? Post colors. You can match around corners. Before we do all that, let's before we start going crazy with styles, here, let's just add a background color. Maybe that would be a little bit lighter. Oh, that's not even close. All right, whatever. There we go. There we go. That's something a little bit better, right? Here, let's do the, I can't stop fiddling. Let's just do that. We want bottom 0. Okay, I think that's what we want. Oops. Oh, fixed to bottom. Oh, it's set to, I forgot it's set to match height, so it's gonna freaking do that. Okay. Anyway, so you can play around with a lot of that. Let's look at some of these other blog options. Oh, let me get a drink of water. There are so many options here. I could probably do an hour just on this stack. I'll try to give you as quick of a synopsis as I can. Okay, display count. That is obviously how many blog posts are going to be loaded on page load. Okay, now at the very bottom of the page, okay, there are different load more options. By default, it's disabled, so it will only load, in this instance, 12 blog posts. You can turn on infinite scrolling, or you can turn on a load more button, okay? And there's a bunch of options here for that, okay? I think the infinite scrolling works beautifully. So set your, your display count to maybe 5, 10 or something like that. Turn on infinite scrolling, and the customer will just be able to scroll through and see all your blog posts, okay? This message is if no blog posts are found, this is what will be displayed. The order by default is newest first, okay? You can also do oldest first, alphabetical, reverse, or shuffle. Now, why would you want something like oldest first, okay, or newest first? Let's say, well, actually, the biggest thing would be on date, okay? So here we have filter by. If you only wanted to do future posts, this is the scenario I was talking about during our lunch break, where let's say you're using blog to manage some events. And basically what you do is you would post, the date of the post would be the date of the event, which is in the future, okay? So what you would do is if you set the date to only show future posts, once the post is in the past, okay, it's no longer going to be visible inside this blog list. Conversely, by default, if you set a normal blog post, it's going to be set to show all past posts, okay? So show everything that is today and older. Now, you can leverage this to your advantage, because let's say I have a blog post that I want it to automatically publish to the site on Monday, but I want to get it all ready and publish it now. How do we do that? So we set our blog list, okay, to only display blog posts from today, from the past, right? Which includes today. So it's today and in the past. Then if we future date our blog post when we save it, it won't be displayed on our website until that day, right? Does that make sense? So if I future post a blog post, it's going to be hidden by default until that day comes, and then it will automatically be displayed. So that's how it kind of has default scheduling built in. All you need to do is future date your blog posts, and by default, that blog post will be hidden until that day comes, and then it will magically appear on your blog post page. Pretty cool stuff. Okay, let's get back. You can also show all posts regardless of the date, okay? Featured. So by default, if you set a blog post as featured, it will always show at the top of the list, okay? But you have control over this. You can have it display with the blog posts. So basically, it's just going to be another, blog post, but it'll be featured. You can set it to only displayed featured. So this is great if you only want to display featured blog posts. And next is hide featured. Maybe you're using featured for some other reason, or you don't want featured posts showing in this blog list for some reason. You can hide them. You have the same exact options for drafts. By default, it's set to hide a draft. So if you save a blog post in the admin area and set it to be draft, it will not show up in the blog list by default. You can change that here, right? And you have all the same options as you do with featured, but by default, it's set to hide them. Okay. Exclude displayed post. This is useful if you're using blog list on a blog post page, and we'll show that in a little bit. This is for if you're, you want to show related blog posts to the current blog post you're on. Okay. Next, you can do filters based on author, category, tag, and history. Sorry, 1 second, guys. I'm sorry about this. Hold on. I'll be right back. I'm very sorry. Sorry about that, everybody. So where was I? Filters. So we can filter this blog list. So let's say I only wanted to have a blog list that showed the author of Joe Workman. Okay, we can do that. Or, all blog lists that, or all blog posts that have a category of work or things of that nature, right? That this allows us to have a lot of flexibility. Okay. You can also filter by history. So if you only want to have a, let's say a blog post page that is, oh fuck, I'm not sharing my screen. Thank you. Okay, back to filters. Again, we can filter stuff based off author, category, tag, history, right? So if we want to filter by a tag, you can say, only show all blog posts that have, here, let's look at what tags are inside this, this blog. So we can show you a working example of this. Let's go to admin. Here, Brazil. Okay, so we'll do a tag of Brazil. So here, if I do tag and set that to be Brazil, okay, and refresh the page, it should only show blog posts that have Brazil, and that's what it does, right? So here it's saying, it's setting the filter to be only blog posts that are Brazil. So really cool. So that kind of deals with, you know, how to determine which blog posts to display. Okay. Now let's go over some of the layout options. We've kind of already seen what what lists versus cards does. Okay. What I'm going to do really quick is I kind of had there's a great cards view inside the Total CMS demo project. And I am going to just straight up copy that right now. Okay, there we go. Okay, this will save me a little bit of time. And it's configured to be blog. Let's configure that. Let's look at this. Yes, that's a nice looking blog list there. Okay. So let's have a look at this blog list here. We have it set to layout of cards, right? I deleted the other one, yeah. Okay. You can set the margin between each one, right? And some padding at the bottom of each blog post. So there's a bunch of paddings. You can set the desktop sizing. So let's do like 40%, something like that. There we go. So now we have two. Now remember, I have this sidebar that I'm not really utilizing yet. Where it's a little bit big. Okay, so there we go. So now I have two blog posts, and I have some really good looking cards. We're gonna have some sidebar stuff over here. Okay, but this is starting to look really, really nice. Okay, so in the layout we set to cards. Okay, and then we have a various sizing options for the cards. Okay, in the mode you have equalize heights, or you can have masonry. Okay, masonry means basically it's going to stagger them, and the layout is only going to be the same size as the actual content. Okay, list has it's pretty much the same settings, except it doesn't have the ability to change how wide each card is, because each one is going to be 100% width, right? Next up, we have some styles for the blog. Okay, so we have the text styles, which is default. We have some foundation styles if you're using foundation, or custom. So then you can set the custom styles for headers, text, and links. Okay. You can hyphenate the text. So if you notice, the text is justified, so you can hyphenate it so that it will hyphenate automatically. You can match round corners, meaning if you have a round corner in your layout, it'll also round the images. Okay. And then you can set the size, the border size, and the round corner sizing. You can set the post colors as well. So you can set the background, okay, color of a post, and then the border color. Now, what's kind of cool is you can also alternate colors. So if we alternate colors, let's go ahead and preview that. You'll see that the blog posts alternate. So here it's gray and then white, gray and then white. That really looks great for the list layout. Not sure it really works too great for blog list or for the cards, okay? But it works really well for the list layout, so you can alternate the colors. You can also style feature posts differently. So let's say, let's give featured posts like this is kind of going to be a crazy color, but let's do something like that. Go back in. There we go. So you see this featured post. This is not something that you would do on a live site like this, but just to show you an example of how you can actually style the colors of featured posts and drafts differently. Okay. Next is the blog post image. We have some really, really cool stuff here. This is probably some of my favorite stuff inside the blog list stack. Okay. So by default, you can actually have a slideshow. So if we look here, these images are actually a slideshow, and they're kind of going through each one. And you can click through the arrows and look through all the images in that particular blog post, right? Very cool stuff. We also have a lot of other options. Okay, we have a thumbnail grid. The grid basically allows you to, it will find the number of images that are in a blog post and create the best grid that it can based on this one. So this first one only had 2 images, so it can only do a 2x1 here. But on this one, there were more images, so it could do a 2x2 grid, and so on and so forth. And it can go all the way up to, here it's doing a 3x2, okay? Now, if you go to a collage, what's awesome is that it will build a collage. If you look, it knew it couldn't build a collage here because there was only 2. And if you look here, this 4x4 is the same size as this single image. But if we keep going down, we'll notice that this one can build a 2x2. That's a 2x2. Oh, there aren't any left. But if we actually had a blog post that could do a 3x3, it would build that out, right? So it kind of makes a nice way to show multiple images when it can. Okay, so for images, so if a blog post had 9 images, it could build a 3x3 grid here, which is really, really cool. Oh, it looks like I set the max collage here. Let's do 3. Is there any? Oh, there still isn't any. Okay. So collage is really cool. You can do featured image, which only shows the featured image from a blog post. If a featured image isn't set, it uses the first image in the gallery. Okay. So if you want to, determine exactly which image is going to be displayed here in the blog list, when you edit that blog post, okay, here, let's go ahead and if we edit this blog post here, actually, you know what? I'm going to delete this blog post I created. Okay, if we edit this one, you can hover over the images and you can set what image you want to be your featured image. So for this one, let's say I wanted the statue of Christ to be the featured image of that blog post. Okay, from now on, whenever a blog list is used and it's told to display the featured image, it will display that featured image from the blog post. Then you can use first image, last image, or random image. Okay, so that's some really great features of blog list. Okay, let me see, tags and filters in a blog list on the content side. How do you have different filters on different blog pages? Okay, I'll get to that in a little bit. So we've built out our blog list. Okay, now we want to be able to kind of dynamically filter this page based off tags and categories and maybe even date. Okay. Oh, and I turned on infinite loading, by the way, and it will infinite load all the blog posts. Okay. So we have this second column here. Let's start using it. Let's look at what other features we have in Total CMS blog that we can add there. On the content side, we have a stack called blog filter. Okay, so if I go over here and we have that filter, we can plus, and we see that we have blog links, blog filter select, blog search, and blog button. Okay, let's do the first thing. Let's do blog search. Okay, and what we'll do is we'll add a blog button here. Okay, and we want it to be submit. We want it to be, let's do write, and we want it to be a tiny button. And instead of save, I want it to say search. Okay, let's try that. Okay, search. Now you actually don't need a button. You can actually just, if you type in and hit enter, I think a lot of people are kind of familiar with that. Another thing you can do is you can actually add in headers. So you can type in, maybe I do need to make this a little bit bigger. Let's go back to 3, 9, and 3. Okay. Search. So I add search, preview that, right? Okay, so that adds a search button. And let's go ahead and just change this to be 48. There we go. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to publish this. Search really works best if we test it when it's published. Okay, so you really don't need to do anything special, although I didn't set the blog ID. Bad me. So in the blog filter, we want to make sure that we set our CMS blog ID to be blog, because that's what we set it to. Now on this particular instance, we're adding the search to the same page that the blog list is on. So you don't necessarily need to set the blog list URL, okay? But you can set it if you like. It doesn't hurt anything. So we can set that to be the blog, okay? And let's publish that again. If we go ahead and go to our blog page, what I can now search for is, let's say if I search for Brazil, okay, it will dynamically, if you notice it, refresh the page, and what it does is it creates a search on the same exact blog page and searches for that, right? We could search for other things. We could search for, if we go back, let's search for something. Let's search for Hangout, I guess. Or what's something that's in all of them or in a couple more? Let's search for travel. Let's see, travel. Oh, it only came up with one. Okay, but what this search is it searches through the summary, the title, and it's pretty smart. If the result is in a title, it shows up before something where the result is in the summary, right? So and it also searches tags and categories. So again, if I search for coffee, it comes up with that because coffee's in the title, right? So it's a really great way to build in search directly onto your page, okay? It's really simple to implement, okay? So let's go ahead and let's keep adding some more filters into here. Okay, so that's search. Next, we want to add in let's do blog links, okay? And this is, let's do categories. Okay, so what this does is it allows us to, you can have these to do blog list of anything, right? It could be categories, tags, authors, history, okay, or history year only, history month plus year, or history year only, okay? So then we can have filters. So we can have all posts, only future posts, right? There's a lot of things that we can filter out what links are going to be displayed. Okay, and then some styling information. How do you want them? You know, what font do you want? Alignments? Do you want uppercase? Do you want, you know, detect acronyms and things of that nature? So if you look here, it just generates a dynamic list of links that has all categories. Okay, and we do the same thing for tags, right? So let's go ahead and before we, let's go ahead and add tags. Refresh. There we go. So here, oh, wait, sorry. I forgot there is a limitation. For the blog filter, you can only do one thing at a time, right? So we'd have to create a new one and do tags. And then we'd have to set this one to tags. Oops. That's weird. Publish. Oh, it's still searched. Oh, interesting. Tags is working here on publish page. Okay. So we have categories, and all you need to do is you could just click on these, right? So if you want an entrepreneur, you can click on that, and it shows you all the blog posts that are in entrepreneur. Okay. You switch on Google, it'll show you all tags that are posted with Google. Okay. So it's really cool, very convenient, very easy to create these sort of things. If you want to see what the history stuff is, let's just go ahead and add that one really quick. Here, just so it doesn't get too cluttered, I'll delete that. Oh, I should have left it, I guess. Then you can do, we'll do history month plus year. Okay. I don't remember if that, no, it only shows that static. You have to publish to see the filters. So here we go. We see that we have a date, and then it contains the date and the year for all those blog posts. And if you click on that, it'll show you those are all the blog posts from January 2016. Okay, so it's pretty cool. It's pretty awesome. Next up, if we look at, so the next thing we could do is, let's delete this, and let's look at creating filter select boxes. Okay. So filter select boxes are really cool. Let's keep with the categories actually. So what we can do is we have categories, and then you can have a drop down box. And essentially what that does is it allows you to build a dynamic search. Okay. So you can actually combine these to do some pretty interesting stuff. Okay. So right now I'm just going to show you the basics. We're going to do categories, and it's going to have a drop down box of categories. Now inside the blog filter stack, you can have it auto submit on select change. So if you select that, whenever someone changes this select box, it'll automatically submit that filter. So let's go ahead and publish that. And let's go to the page. Okay, so here we have, it's created a select box, okay, that has all of our categories. Okay, again, if I select travel, it will automatically submit, okay, and it shows us all, the blog posts that have the category of travel. And there's category of vacation. Okay, so again, it's really cool. You just, select one, and it, dynamically refreshes the page and shows you all the blog posts for that particular category. Now, I noted earlier that you can actually, I'm going to turn off submit, okay? And I'm going to do some interesting stuff. Where I'm going to add in another blog select, okay? And let's do this one with tags. And we're going to do tags. We're going to leave all the rest of the default. And then I'm going to add in a button, okay? And the button is going to be form submit. I'm going to say search. I'm going to align right. We're going to make the tiny button. Okay. Let's publish that. By doing multiple conditions here, okay, what's going to happen is it's going to combine those. Okay, so it allows us to do some complex searching. If you wanted to have category of entrepreneur and tag of coffee, I don't know if there's anything that mixed. There's no post found. Okay, but you could do travel and beach. What? There's nothing. All right, let's go back to. And I only have 6 blog posts, so vacation, travel Brazil I could have done. Okay. So there you go. You can also mix in search, right? So that actually could be maybe a little bit more interesting, right? So you can, like, if you were to mix in a search box here, okay, you can combine this search term with those, right, to search, right? So you can do some complex stuff, which is very interesting with this blog filter, okay? Now, the last thing that you can do with this blog filter stack is if you have just a blog button, okay? So let's go ahead and I'm gonna say that's a large button and it's gonna be full width. Let's just go full width. Let's make it medium. Large is really big. Okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set this to be a filter button, okay? And what we can do is if I set this, let's set it to be travel, okay? And what we can do is we can set it to be, that was a category of travel. So what we could do is we could set category of travel, okay? Now, whenever I click this button, what it's going to do is it's automatically gonna, it's basically like a little quick filter. So you can have little, predefined little filters where it's a button that goes straight to travel, right? And if you notice, it just loaded the same blog list page, but it created like a pre-filtered link. Okay, very cool. So you can have multiple of these. Obviously, you can filter them off author, category, tag. Very, very, very powerful stuff. So let me review some of the questions that we had on filtering. So tags and filters in a blog list on the content side. How could you have different filters on different blog pages? So I think I covered that. You can have filters on the same page. And if you wanted to have a blog list on a different web page, you can have as many blog lists as you want throughout your entire website. Okay. You could have it in the footer of every web page if you want. Okay. And then in that blog list on a different web page, you could just set the filter parameters to be different. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Is there a way to get search function that will search CMS data and non-CMS data? Well, the search function only searches CMS data. So it only searches the blog. So not sure if what confusion is going on there. The search feature will only search blog posts. What about searching on multiple tag category entries and the same time? Oh, I kind of covered that, right? Where you can join those filters, okay? And if you noticed, okay, here, let me share my screen. Okay. Let's share my screen again. What was I talking? Shoot, now I got sidetracked. Okay, what about, oh, okay, I was gonna show you how the only thing that these filters do, okay, such as category travel, if you look at the URLs, all it does is modify the URL. So you can make your own buttons if you wanted to. So I can do category equals travel and tag equals Brazil, right? Oops, if you spell out tag properly. Okay. So you can kind of build your own special URLs and whatnot and have dynamic filtering based on the URL. Now, something these buttons don't necessarily support is you can actually define multiple categories here. So you can do travel, and you can use the pipe syntax, okay, the pipe character, travel or vacate, or I think work has a, and tag Brazil. So we get here, let's just make it simple. We can have travel or work, right? So here I have category travel or work, and you could just keep doing work or I don't know what else. I don't remember what else other categories I had. But you can kind of get the drift, right? Here look, work, hobbies, hangouts. I can do travel, work, or hobbies. Okay, so you see this page, it contains blog posts that have a category of travel, work, or hobbies. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. So that's how you can kind of chain these queries together. You know, you can do them somewhat through these forms, but you have ultimate flexibility if you just know how to kind of trick the URLs, okay, by using categories, tags, authors, things of that nature. Okay, what about 2 in the category and 1 in tag? So I kind of did that, right? So you can have category of travel, work, and hobbies, and tag equals I don't think this is going to work, right? But Brazil. What? Oh, there we go. Look, so interesting. So both of these had a tag of Brazil, but they're in different categories, right? So this has travel or work or hobbies and tag equals Brazil. So that's how we can kind of use multiple filters to get different unique results for our pages. Is it possible to add video content to blogs? Yes. Okay. Thank you for saying that. So if you remember earlier today, we went over HipWig and how you can add YouTube videos or embeds or Vimeo videos or whatever video embed you want into HipWig. Well, that's exactly how you'll do it with a blog, right? So I don't think I have video turned off here. Let's go ahead and just so we can see it. Where's RapidWeaver? Okay. Blog admin. Okay, we're going to go to admin core, and we're going to add video into HipWig. We'll add image too. Okay, and let's go ahead and publish. Okay, so let's see. So I've added that into HipWig. So now if we edit this blog post, we'll see that I now have insert image and insert video. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I'm going to do both on this particular blog post. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say insert image, and I am going to insert. None of these really fit, but we'll add this one. Uploading, boom. All right, so now it's inserted this image into HipWig inside of a blog post. Okay, now you can do when you insert an image via HipWig, there's a lot of other things you can do. You can add a link, you can change the way it's aligned and all that jazz. By default, it should just take up full width and you should be good to go. Okay, now let's say further down, I want to add a video. Okay. And why not? First, let's go find, since this is Brazil, let's go to YouTube and search for Brazil. Brazil World Cup. Okay. Oh. This is humiliating. We won't do that to Brazil. Poor Brazil, that game. Won't even bring up that game. Poor Brazil. Sure, Brazil always loves to beat Argentina. Okay, so let's go ahead. I copied that link. I'm going to go ahead and say insert video here. I'm going to put in the URL. I'm going to say insert. And we now have that inside of our blog content. I'm going to say save. And now if we go back to our website and we go to Brazil Summer Olympics, oh, I never configured the blog post page. Okay, we didn't get that far yet. Oh, okay, but that's how you do it. Okay, I'm sorry. That is how you do it, and we'll see it very soon when we configure the blog post page. Okay. Would you post the link to the button? Not sure what you meant by that question, Dominic, about pasting the link to the button. If you want to clarify that. So I think you mean for these URLs. Yes. So for these URLs, you could then copy this link and put it in a button, and it will just work, right? Because that's essentially what this travel button does for you automatically. Okay. Okay. I think that pretty much does it for a blog list page. Okay. I know that was quite crazy. It was long, but now we need to do the blog post page. Okay. To speed things up, what I will do is I already have kind of a blog post page kind of built. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy that. And I'm going to paste it. Okay. All I will do is add in a one column with some padding. Okay. And voila. Okay. Blog post pages. I guess probably what I should have done is shown you how to build it from scratch first. Okay. So there is a blog post stack. When you add this to the page, okay, you'll see that you can add multiple blog post fields. So all of the available blog post fields you have: titles, dates, summary, tags, categories, content, extra content, insert a gallery. You can insert a slideshow, which is going to be a slideshow based on the gallery. Okay. You can insert an image, okay, which is just a normal image from the blog post. Layout rule. Let me forget to show this one. That one's pretty cool. Macro hints, which are specific macros just for the blog post page. So that's how we build out the blog post. So here I've just added a few simple ones. Okay, blog post image. So here in this image, what it will do is it'll just display a random image at the very top. Then we want the title. Okay. Then we have our blog post content. Then we have a gallery. Okay. Now these blog post macro hints, okay, there are special macros that you can use that only work on a blog post page. So if you want to insert this text into the page, you can. Okay, you can insert it into a header or anywhere you want on the page, just like you do text macros. Okay. Now, if we look at the blog post stack, you'll see that we have CMS ID of blog, which is what we want. Now, the post URL, this is very important. This needs to be a permalink of an actual blog post in your blog. Why is that important? Because we want to be able to preview our blog pages, right? So what it will do is this will actually pull in the actual blog content from your blog and display it inside RapidWeaver. Okay. Next, blog post. Just set this to be, we'll go over this in a little bit. Right now, we're going to build out just a straight up blog post page. We'll leave that to default. And if no blog post is found, what do you want to do? So if someone, figures out a URL and that blog post no longer exists on your page, what do you want to do? Do you want to do nothing? You want to redirect to a URL, display maybe some custom stack content, okay, that will display, sorry, this blog post it doesn't exist any longer, or something of that nature. Now, blog post URL. This is where we actually start saving this blog post page to our CMS. So if you notice when I previewed this page, this light box came up. That's because the server needs to know, the CMS application needs to know if this is going to be our blog post page for the blog with the CMS ID of blog. And right now it says nothing is set on the server. And this is what I want it to be set as. So all you need to do is click submit. Okay. Now that blog post, that light box should never come up again. Okay. Now, actually, since we submitted that, remember earlier on that the blog list inside this web page didn't work. Okay. Well, it should work now because I submitted that light box. So now if I go to my live website and I click on the blog list, it actually knows where the blog post page is now. So I can click on it. And it should, oh, I didn't publish this page. Haha. Let's go ahead and publish. That's why the blog post page was empty. That kind of helps if it actually has content in it. Okay. Now we'll refresh. And there we go. And there, if you notice inside the content, we have my image that I added, as well as the video that I added, all inside of the blog post. And at the bottom, we have a gallery. Okay. So that is how you can add it. You know, we add an image at the top that's coming from the gallery. We have our title. We have the blog post content, which contains both images and video. And at the bottom, we have the gallery. Okay. Now, obviously, on that page, you can add, you know, menus and whatnot to go back to the main blog post, you know, the main blog list page and things of that nature, right? So, you know, you can definitely do all that. Okay. Now, other things that you can do in the blog post. Okay. You guys are smart enough. If you add like something like the slideshow or the author, you'll know that, you know, what it's going to do, right? Every single one of these has some, you know, some small, you know, options for, you know, fonts and styles and alignment, you know, and things of that nature. The gallery, you know, allows you to, you know, determine, you know, what thumbnails you want. How many do you want to display? You know, things of that nature. Some styles for that. Okay. A lot of these are just going to be a lot of the same. Which ones are a little bit different? So, the blog post or the blog post layout rule is something very interesting and different because it allows you to actually change the layout of a blog post based on conditions. Okay. So let's say, for instance, let's say I only want to display. Okay. So basically what this is it's filters. So we can say if category is travel, then display this image. Okay. Now it could contain anything, right? It can contain travel post. Okay. So it can contain anything. So you can have a blog post layout rule that can contain anything you want, and then it'll only display that content if the layout rule is true. Now you can also add else logic, so you can say if true, else do this, right? So so you could do, you know, this is not a travel post. Okay, so if we publish this. Okay, and let's go back to that page. We will see that this is a travel post at the top, and we have our image because this actually has a category of travel, right? But if I go to this one, Who Loves Coffee, this is not a travel post, and we don't have that image, right? So this gives us the flexibility to change our layouts of our blog posts based on the attributes of the actual blog post that's being displayed. It's pretty powerful, right? That's really cool stuff. Okay. Oops. So that's the blog post layout rule. Okay. We're getting down to the end, guys. We're almost done. There isn't much left that I haven't covered. Okay. So what else is left with blog posts? We added in blog 1.3, we added the ability to have a dynamic post. One thing I should note is inside this blog post stack, you can add whatever stacks you want. Okay, so you can add 2 columns and you can make the layout anything you want. Okay, so you can add whatever stacks you want into the blog post page. That is not true on the blog list stack. Okay, you cannot add whatever stack you want. If you look, I can't even add. It doesn't let me. Right? You are only allowed to add the stacks that the blog list lets you add. Okay, but that's not true on the blog post page. You have full freedom to do whatever you want. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. On the blog list stack, I didn't really go through all of these particular child stacks inside blog list. Okay, image, you have the ability to determine what image you want, the thumbnail, the square thumbnail. Do you want it to link to the blog post or not? Okay. You have the ability to customize the effect for the slideshow. Do you want it to be a slide or fade? If there are no image for a blog post, show this default image, right? The layout stack is kind of our column stack. Since you can't add normal column stacks inside of your blog list, I built this layout stack so that you can say you want 1 column or 2 columns. If you want a 1 column, do you want the height to be fixed or auto? Do you want to float it left or right? So there's a lot of things. Do you want to have an image background? Do you want to have a colored background? There's a lot of flexibility there. Most of the other stacks are very simple, like title and date and summary. They're all just basically, how do you want it to align? What colors do you want? If you have Foundation or Font Pro, there's some special settings in there for you for that. The button, you saw me deal with this a little bit, where you can have it, fixed to the bottom. You can have it full width or left centered or right or a centered button, squared, round, a pill, thing of that nature, right? And size. Do you want it to be really big, really little, or small? Things of that nature. Okay. Now, the last thing is I didn't review is that dynamic blog post. So what is that? Okay. Let's say, for example, I'm on my homepage, and on my homepage, I always want to show the very first blog post, okay, or the latest blog post. So what I would do is I would set dynamic post, okay, and then I could set my content what I want. So I'd have, the blog title, the summary, and maybe the gallery. Okay, you don't need hints. Okay, so then what this does is you determine the filter based. Now these filter settings are exactly like we would see inside the blog list stack. So basically, we'd sort by newest, only past posts, include featured posts, okay, or hide them if you want, and same thing for drafts. And then you can even filter by, these. So basically, you're creating your filters. The very first post that is returned in that filter is displayed on this page, okay? So basically, if we preview this, it should, as we see here, display San Francisco. Oh, and I didn't put it inside of 1 column, so that's why it's going full width. But as you see here, with the dynamic post, it's getting the newest blog post and dynamically inserting it onto my homepage. So maybe you don't want the gallery, or maybe you only want the gallery and the summary, right? Something of that nature. So it's a very cool feature. All right, let me put it in there just so it's a little bit more presentable. So there we go. Interesting about the save blog post URL. I gotta probably disable that if you're using dynamic blog posts. Okay. But this way you can give, you know, on your homepage, always display a particular blog post. And you can obviously customize what data is going to be shown for that. Last but not least, I think the only thing that we haven't covered with blog is pretty URLs. Okay, so let's go to the actual page here. And oh, that's fine. Okay, so if we go to the home page, we'll notice if we click on a blog post, we have, if we look at the URL, it's sandbox.joework.net/blog post/blog/post/permalink equals Brazil Summer Olympics. Okay. Now, wouldn't it look nicer if we got rid of this part and it just looked like that? That would be really nice. And that is pretty URLs. Okay. So let's see how to configure that. To do that, you'd go on the blog post page. And what you would do is you would set the post URL, instead of default, you would set it to be pretty. Okay. And let's go ahead and preview our page. We should get there we go. We have a box that says, hey, your server setting for your blog post page is set to this. I see that you now want to use pretty URLs and it wants to save this. Now, in order to use pretty URLs, we need to do one extra thing. And that is we need to copy this into our htaccess file. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and I'm going to submit this so that it saves that new pretty URL onto the server. Now I'm going to go into transmit. Is transmit still connected to my server? No, it's not. Okay, I got disconnected. Let's connect it again. I'm going to edit my htaccess file here. Now, for those of you that don't know htaccess, it is simply a text file on your server that contains some rules. Okay, and it looks like I already have it in there. Oh, a little bit different. Okay, so I pasted in that the rules that I got from the RapidWeaver, from the CMS, and I'm going to save this file. Okay, and there we go. Transmit has saved my file. Now, if I go to the blog and I go back to my page, let's refresh. Okay, we will see, if you look at the little tooltip at the bottom and we click on it, we'll see that my blog posts are now pretty. I now have pretty URLs in my blog posts. Very simple. It took us a long time to get things that streamlined, but we've got it pretty darn close. Okay. Now you might be wondering, what are these other settings here? Pro. Okay. This basically allows you to manually set what the pretty URL you want to use, and you are now on your own with your htaccess rules. So there's probably only 1 or 2 people who have ever purchased Total CMS that understand that. And this setting is for those people. Okay, it's for highly custom, htaccess rules and some crazy stuff. You can also disable this, and it also means you're pretty much on your own as well. So 99.9% of the people, you're going to either start off with default. Once you're happy with that and you want to use pretty URLs, use this pretty URL setting. Okay. If you think in the future you ever want to use these, you're probably going to end up emailing me and say, hey, Joe, how do I do this? And then at that point, that's where I say, go ahead and use the pro or disable features, because that's what you need to do in order to accomplish what you need to do. But like I said, 99% of the time, default, move to pretty, you're good to go. If you ever need to know what those htaccess rules are again, because maybe you forgot, just go ahead and click this and just preview. And the htaccess rules will be displayed again for you inside this light box. And if you ever don't need them again, just go ahead and uncheck that button and you'll be golden. Okay. I see a couple things. Can you include partials in your layout rule stacks? Yes, you can. You should be able to use partials inside your blog post layout rules. Shouldn't be a problem at all. Do pretty URLs work in RapidWeaver 6? I don't see why they wouldn't. It should work. Yeah, to my knowledge, they work. Another question is, why are you still using RapidWeaver 6? Use RapidWeaver 7, seriously. You need to move. It's been many, many years. RapidWeaver 8's already being developed. You need to move to 7. Sorry, being blunt about that. But you just need to move to 7. 7 is superior now by leaps and bounds. Okay. Another thing I kind of skipped over with the blog post. It automatically adds in SEO metadata on the blog post page, right? So if I go to bring up Safari and go to that URL again, /blog. Okay, if I go to, let's say, this blog post here, okay, if we look at the browser title, it's the title of the blog post. Okay. Also, if you want to dig into the metadata on the page, okay, you'll see that it has all of the SEO metadata here, the meta tags, all the Facebook meta descriptions. It uses the images from the blog post. It uses the types of articles, the titles, all that stuff. Same thing for Twitter cards. Okay, it's going to get all the metadata from the blog post and apply it so that it looks great for SEO and social media. Oh, I just answered that, Allison, about Facebook and other social media. So yes, it does do that. Sorry, I'm sitting down now. My legs are killing me. That pretty much does it. So let's see, Total CMS. Is Total CMS working together with Formula from 1LD? I have no idea what Formula from 1LD is and how it would work with Total CMS. I don't know. When in doubt, simplify. So if you have that on the page and something's not working, start simple. Just have blog on the page, or just have what you're working with on the page, right? So whenever you're in doubt and you're having issues, simplify, simplify, simplify. No doubt that's going to be the best thing to get things working for you, is just to simplify.